My son squeezed my hand so hard it almost hurt. His voice dropped to a whisper. Too soft, too eager, too rehearsed. Only 3 days, Dad. Then everything is finally mine. He smiled. A smile I'd never seen on him before. A smile that didn't belong to the boy I raised. A smile meant for someone who was already dead. And in that moment, lying in that hospital bed, machines beeping near my ears, I realized something terrifying. My own son was counting down to my death. And after that smile, I did something I never thought I'd have to do to my own child. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and tell us where you're listening from in the comments. Your support keeps these stories alive. My name is Arthur Miles. I'm 67 years old, and I've lived my entire life in Portland, Maine. I spent decades building a business, raising a family, and trying to be the kind of father my own dad never was. But 3 days ago, in a quiet hospital room, I learned that my son had been waiting for me to die, and the truth behind that smile would unravel our entire family. The room smelled like antiseptic and lemon soap. Sunlight slid across the linoleum in a thin band. Beeping machines kept time for me. I counted them like a metronome. 1, 2, 3. Small, steady things to hang on to. My son sat in the chair beside the bed. Ethan. He looked older than the last time I saw him sober. Eyes sharp, smile practiced. He reached for my hand. He squeezed it hard enough to bruise. Only 3 days, he said again. Soft, certain, like he'd rehearsed it in a mirror. You mean the surgery? I asked. He returned that smile. Too quick, too polished. No, Dad. In 3 days, everything's finally mine. The words sat on the mattress between us, a small, cold stone. I wanted to laugh, wanted to tell him he was being absurd. Instead, I felt a cold crawl under my skin, the old animal kind of fear when something that should be impossible arrives and stands at the foot of your bed. Ethan, I said quietly, what are you talking about? He looked at me then, all tenderness and steel. Don't worry, I'll show you. He stood up and moved to the window, looking out at the hospital lot as though it were a stage. Outside, a woman wheeled a toddler past the row of pines. A delivery truck rumbled by. Life continued. Inside, my life tilted. Claire, the night nurse, appeared as if summoned. She had a soft face and the sort of hands that had washed other people's sorrow away. Would you like some water, Mr. Miles? She asked. Her voice was gentle, a familiar lighthouse in this quiet storm. Yes, please, I managed. She filled the cup, then hesitated. Her eyes slipped to Ethan and came back to mine. You have family waiting in the lobby, Mr. Miles, she said. Someone called earlier asking for you. Ethan's jaw tightened. Something in his expression sharpened. I'll tell them we're fine, he said. Rest, Dad. When Claire left, Ethan folded his hands in his lap. His fingers tapped a rhythm I'd never taught him. Why now? I asked. I thought you wanted reconciliation. He smiled that slow, dangerous smile again. I do, he said. Reconciliation. Resolution. His words were calm, but the way he said resolution made my stomach drop. I thought of the mortgage, the house on Maple Street, the brokerage accounts, the small business I sold when the arthritis started getting bad. I thought of papers I'd signed and things I'd promised to take care of. Ethan, bless him, had always liked promises with a schedule. He liked beginnings, grand ones, less interested in the suture work. Ethan, I said carefully, are you talking about money? He shrugged as if talking about weather, security. Security for who? I asked. For me, he said simply. For the life I want. My hands went cold. You don't expect me to, I started. He squeezed my hand again, almost angrily this time. Dad, don't be dramatic. You taught me to be practical. There it was. The lesson I'd taught him, used on me. Later, Rebecca came, my daughter, my anchor. She had a presence that filled the doorway. Careful, furious, worried all at once, her voice broke the air. Dad, he said. What? She demanded. I told her. She pressed a palm to my forehead like checking a fever. You heard him, right? She said, looking at Ethan. Ethan folded his arms. Rebecca, he said, I'm not trying to hurt anyone. I'm just being honest. You don't be honest by counting down to your father's death, she replied. Ethan's face didn't change. Only the muscles around his mouth worked a fraction. He said, You always dramatize things. Rebecca stared. Then she left, storming down the hall. When the door shut, I felt lonelier than I had in a long time. The rest of the day blurred into small, brittle things. Ice chips, light visitors, a television flicker of indifferent news. I tried to sleep. I didn't. Instead, I watched Ethan reading a small folded paper he'd taken from his pocket. He rifled it open with the same care he used when opening old business letters. He glanced at me, then folded it back like a secret. My curiosity was a physical ache. I feigned sleep. Ethan walked to the sink and spoke on the phone in a voice too low for me to hear every word. "Just make sure the transfer goes through on Thursday," he said. "We don't want any hiccups." My breath stopped. Transfer? I propped myself up on my elbow. Ethan hung up and, without looking toward me, said, "I called Claire earlier. She's cooperative." He smiled then. That smile again. A lightning bolt of cold shot through me. "What transfer?" I whispered. He looked at me long enough for the truth to sit between us like a third person. "The house," he said quietly. "You signed the papers when you were here last week. You approved it." My mouth made a dry sound. "That's impossible," I said. "I don't remember." "You were tired," he said. "The doctor said your memory gaps are normal." I tried to stand. My legs wobbled. "You can't sign things like that, not without me." Ethan's eyes were steady. "You did. The nurse scanned your bracelet. You authorized it. My hospital wristband. Digital records." Images flickered in my head. Claire's face, a small scanner, a cursor flashing. "No," I said, louder. "You're lying." "You can check," he said. "I can show you. It's all legal." He set a small tablet on the bedside table. The screen glowed. A document, open, a signature at the bottom. Arthur Miles. My signature. Below, in bold, beneficiary Ethan Miles. Transfer effective in 3 days. My pulse thundered. Then my phone buzzed. One message from an unknown number. He signed, "See you Thursday." I looked up at Ethan. His smile hadn't changed. My hands trembled as I stared at the text. He signed, "See you Thursday. Thursday, 3 days." The same countdown Ethan whispered when he thought I wouldn't question it. My chest tightened. I wasn't imagining it. I wasn't confused. I wasn't tired, as the doctors kept telling me. Something was happening, something coordinated, something bigger than Ethan. And I suddenly wasn't sure if my son was the mastermind, or just one of the pieces. I reached for the tablet again, forcing myself to look at the document. Legal language in thick paragraphs. My signature at the bottom. I touched the digital signature slowly, trying to find familiarity in the strokes. It looked like mine, but off. As if someone had taken an old signature and copied it slightly wrong. The kind of wrong only I would notice. Ethan sat calmly by the window, scrolling through his phone as if he hadn't just ripped the floor out from under me. I cleared my throat. "Ethan, why did you do this behind my back?" He didn't look up. "Dad, you weren't back," he air quoted the word. "You weren't all there." The doctor said the memory lapses were getting worse. My voice was thin. "I've had 2 dizzy spells, not memory loss." He shrugged. "Dad, you mix dates up. You forget conversations. You repeat yourself sometimes." He looked me dead in the eyes. "People call that the beginning of decline." Decline. The word hit me like cold water. "And when people decline," Ethan continued, "someone else has to make choices for them." He said it gently, calmly, like explaining weather patterns. But it wasn't calm. It was predatory, calculated. I opened my mouth to speak, but Claire, the night nurse, stepped in. She smiled in that sweet, practiced way. "Mr. Miles, you needed your medication an hour ago." Ethan glanced at her with a look I recognized immediately, a look of understanding, of shared knowledge, of complicity. My stomach twisted. "I already took it," I lied. She lifted an eyebrow. "We don't have a record of that." I forced a smile. I must have forgotten to press the call button. Claire hesitated, her eyes flicking again. First to me, then to Ethan. Her voice softened. "I'll double-check the notes." She slipped out. And that was when it clicked. She wasn't checking for accuracy. She was checking whether Ethan wanted me medicated or not. Cold spread through my chest. 10 minutes later, Rebecca returned, her face red from crying. "Dad," she whispered, "I talked to the legal office. They said you authorized the transfer, but the timestamp. Dad, it's from 4:13 a.m. My breath hitched. "I was asleep at 4:13, I said. "Exactly," she whispered. She pulled out a printed sheet, her hands shaking. "Dad, look, the signature matches, but you weren't awake. You weren't even lucid." Ethan stood up quickly. "Rebecca, stop interfering. It's done." She snapped back. "Done? You coerced a man on pain medication to sign away his home." Ethan's jaw tensed. He stepped so close to her I thought he might strike her. "Watch your mouth," he said. Rebecca didn't move. She didn't blink. "You're dangerous," she whispered. "I see it now." Ethan smirked. "You'll thank me when everything settles." But then he added under his breath, quiet, but not quiet enough, it's too late anyway. Too late? For what? My heartbeat climbed into my throat. Ethan grabbed his coat. I'll be back tomorrow, he said to me. Get some rest. By Thursday, this will all be over. He left the room. The click of the door echoed like a closing coffin. The moment he was gone, Rebecca fell into the chair beside me. Dad, she whispered urgently, you're not just dealing with greed. There's something else. What do you mean? She took a shaky breath. His girlfriend, the one he wouldn't introduce to us? I found her LinkedIn page. She works at a legal tech firm that digitizes signatures and authenticates medical proxies. The room spun. You think she helped him forge documents? I asked. I think she helped him create a digital power of attorney. My hands went cold. Dad, she swallowed. He might legally control everything right now. I closed my eyes. 3 days. That countdown again. My voice shook. Rebecca, what happens in 3 days? She looked at me the way people look at things they wish they could unsee. Dad, the insurance policy. My stomach dropped. No, I whispered. That policy is small. It was supposed to help you. It pays out on Thursday if you're declared medically unfit, she said. Medically unfit by who? I asked. She held my gaze. By the hospital physician, the same one Ethan has been talking to behind your back. I felt the room constrict. The dull beeping of the machine suddenly sounded like a countdown clock. Rebecca leaned closer. Dad, he's planning to have you declared incompetent. You'd lose your home, your business funds, your accounts, everything. And after that? I whispered, her eyes filled. After that? He doesn't need you alive. A long silence swallowed us. Then she whispered, Dad, we need to get you out of here. But before we could move, before she could unplug the monitors, Claire walked in again. Except she wasn't smiling this time. She closed the door behind her and turned the latch. Rebecca stiffened. Claire stepped forward, her voice soft and chilling. Mr. Miles, the doctor wants to adjust your medication tonight. My pulse spiked. What medication? I asked. She didn't answer. She simply held up a syringe. Clear liquid, no label. Rebecca stood. What is that? She demanded. Claire didn't look at her. Her eyes were fixed on me. Your son said you've been agitated, she said quietly. He requested a stronger sedative to keep you calm until Thursday. My blood turned to ice. Rebecca placed herself between us. You're not touching him. Claire's face remained expressionless. It's already approved. My chest tightened. I tried to stand. My legs buckled. Dad, don't let her near you. Claire moved forward, one slow step, then another. The syringe caught the room's light. Rebecca backed up, pulling me with her. Claire whispered, Don't make this harder than it needs to be. I reached for the call button, but Claire's hand shot out and yanked the cord from the wall. The monitor alarms blinked, searching for connection. Rebecca screamed, Stay away from him! Claire stepped closer, and then we all froze. Because from behind the door a man's voice said, Open this door, now. A voice I recognized, a voice Ethan never expected, a voice that would change everything. The voice behind the door struck through the room like a blade. Firm, authoritative, unfamiliar, and yet somehow familiar enough to make Claire freeze mid-step. Open this door, now. Claire's hand trembled around the syringe. Rebecca pulled me closer until I could feel her heartbeat thundering through her grip. Then the door handle rattled. Hard. Claire, the voice repeated, deeper now. I know exactly what you're holding. Open the door, or I call security. Claire swallowed. Her mask cracked, just for a moment, revealing fear beneath the calm. Finally, she stepped back and unlatched the door. It swung open. A tall man in a gray suit stepped inside. Not a doctor, not a nurse. A hospital administrator. His ID badge swung from a lanyard. David Klein, Patient Rights and Compliance Director. He looked at Claire first. What are you doing with an unauthorized sedative? He demanded. Claire's jaw clenched. Mr. Miles's son. I don't care what he said, Klein snapped. That's not how medication works in this hospital. Rebecca exhaled sharply, collapsing into the chair beside me. Claire lowered her eyes, but something was wrong, something didn't match. Klein's gaze shifted to me. Mr. Miles, he said gently, you reported concerns about potential fraud last month. My office was assigned to your case. My breath caught. Fraud? I whispered. I remember mentioning legal confusion, but you said your son was pressuring you, Klein continued. You said he wanted control of your estate. Rebecca stiffened. Then why didn't you help him sooner? She demanded. Klein sighed. You told us not to escalate yet, because you wanted to give your son a chance to do the right thing. My chest tightened. I didn't remember that conversation, but as soon as Klein said it, something flickered in my memory. A late-night phone call from the hospital bed, my voice weak, asking someone to hold the paperwork for now. Rebecca touched my arm. Dad, this is good. This means someone knows what's happening. Klein nodded slowly. It also means, Mr. Miles, that your medical records, proxies, and digital signatures are all under formal review. Claire paled. That's why I'm here tonight, Klein added, to secure the room and make sure no one interferes with Mr. Miles' care. But then he paused. His eyes lingered on the unplugged monitor cord, the syringe in Claire's gloved hand, and the fear on my face. Claire, he said quietly, you need to come with me. I was following instructions, she whispered. Whose? His, she said finally, Ethan Miles. Klein escorted her out and shut the door. Rebecca turned to him, trembling. Is my brother trying to kill our father? I can't say that. Not officially, Klein said, but your brother has made multiple attempts to access your father's digital records from outside the hospital. My blood went cold. Multiple attempts. Rebecca whispered, Did he forge the power of attorney? Klein met my eyes. Your digital signature was used at 4:13 a.m., but according to the medication logs, you were unconscious. Unconscious. Not sleeping, not groggy. Unconscious. Then I didn't sign anything, I whispered. No, Klein said gently, you didn't. The silence thickened. Then Klein opened a metal box on the wall, revealing a camera lens. We captured footage of your son entering your room while you were asleep, he said. My heart pounded. What did he do? Klein swallowed. He held your wristband against a scanner, my stomach twisted, and used my medical ID, I whispered. To approve signatures, Klein said, and to mark you as unstable for the psychiatric review on Thursday. Rebecca's voice cracked. He can't do that. That's why I'm here, Klein said. Because we received an anonymous tip saying, if you don't act now, Arthur Miles won't make it to Thursday. A chill raced through my bones. Someone out there knew. Someone who wanted to stop Ethan, but didn't want to be seen. Dad, Rebecca whispered, who would warn the hospital? Then I remembered Ethan's call. Make sure the transfer goes through on Thursday. He wasn't working alone. Dad, who else knows about your estate? The name rose like a shadow. A person Ethan trusted. Someone I once trusted too. Someone who disappeared from my life 7 months ago. My voice cracked. His mother, Rebecca, froze. Mom? Dad, Mom is dead. I swallowed. No, not your mother. I lifted my trembling hand. His real mother. Rebecca's eyes widened, and Klein's expression changed instantly. Something central to the puzzle had been missing, until now. The hospital hallway smelled like bleach and urgency. Footsteps pounded. Voices barked. A radio crackled. Klein stayed by my bed while Rebecca dialed numbers. Her fingers trembled, but her voice was steady on the phone. You did the right thing, Klein said quietly. Someone tipped us. We recorded the entrance. Security watched the logs. My mind spun. So the anonymous tip wasn't small. It had teeth. Rebecca came back into the room and slid into the chair, breathless. Dad, she said, they found surveillance footage from the corridor. It shows Ethan scanning your bracelet. It shows him at the terminal. It shows him leaving. I tried to breathe. Images from the monitor flashed through my head like lightning. Ethan's calm walk, the scanner's green light, the signature appearing as if by magic. Klein stood and asked the question I'd been dreading. Mr. Miles, do you want us to press charges? My throat felt like gravel. We had moments together before this. Warm ones, bad ones. 1,000 tiny ordinary decisions that build a life. I thought of the hand he'd squeezed, hard enough to bruise, when he whispered 3 days. I thought of his smile, the one that didn't belong to him. I thought of one more thing, a secret I had kept for myself. When the doctor said I wasn't sleeping well, when Ethan sat beside me smiling, I did something I never thought I would do. I recorded him, not the whole thing, just a sliver, a soft recorder hidden in the cuff of my sleeve, a foolish idea after a desperate night. The moment he said, "You signed. See you Thursday," I kept the small, vibrating memory safe. I held the file tight, and then when I could, I sent it, to no one listed, to that anonymous tip line that Klein monitors. I made a choice. I had to. This was the proof we needed. Klein stepped closer. "We can make your recording official evidence," he said, "but we need your statement." My voice came out like a twig breaking. "I want him charged," I said. "Not for money only, for coercion, for attempted fraud, for putting me at risk." Rebecca's fingers dug into my hand. "You're doing the right thing, Dad," she whispered. They moved quickly. Security pulled footage. A detective, young, efficient, arrived and took statements. Klein escorted Claire away to talk to compliance. She kept glancing back with a face like a child caught in a storm. Minutes later, 2 officers appeared. One of them said my name softly. "Mr. Miles, we have a warrant to question Ethan Miles." My stomach dropped. He arrived a short while later. Calm, too calm. He walked into that room like a man walking into a deal already sealed. His eyes skimmed the faces. Mine, Rebecca's, Klein's. "What's this about?" he asked. The detective laid out the evidence: surveillance footage, digital logs showing the authentication, the nurse's statements, my recording. Ethan's composure faltered, just for a breath. Then he smiled, a smaller smile. His defenses tightened. "It's a misunderstanding," he said smoothly. "I handled my father's affairs because he was fragile. I did it to protect him." Rebecca slammed her hand on the table. "Protect him?" she cried. "You forged signatures. You tried to get him sedated. You planned to have him declared incompetent." Ethan's jaw clenched. "You don't understand the risk," he snapped. "You don't see what I had to do to save us." "Save us?" Klein echoed. "For what? So you could take everything and walk away?" Ethan's voice broke. "Do you know how many times we almost lost everything? How many nights I watched him shake in poverty? I couldn't watch him rot." He leaned forward until his face was a mask of raw need. "We needed stability. I made a plan. I did what I had to do." "Klein," the detective said quietly, "we have probable cause for fraud, attempted coercion, and endangerment." Ethan's eyes finally broke. He looked like a man who'd run too long. "Arrest me," he whispered. "For God's sake, arrest me. I didn't mean—" He reached across the bed. For a second, only a second, I felt the old tug, the boy who'd once reached for me with scraped knees and proud secrets. I let him take my hand. His fingers were the same, calloused, warm, again hurting. Then the detective clapped cuffs on them. "You have the right to remain silent," the officer said. Rebecca wept softly. Klein's jaw clenched. As Ethan was let out, he turned his head. His eyes found mine. There was no glare, no hatred, only sorrow, and a single fragile thing. "I'm sorry," he mouthed. I didn't answer. Words felt small. The aftermath moved like winter thaw. Claire confessed under pressure. She admitted Ethan had asked her for sedation. She admitted to scanning my bracelet. Fear and the promise of money had pushed her. The detective left with paperwork and promises. Klein stayed behind a moment longer. "Mr. Miles," he said, "someone called my office anonymously to say, if you don't act now, Arthur Miles won't make it to Thursday." Rebecca looked up. "Who called?" she asked. Klein's eyes were steady. "A woman named Evelyn Shaw. She used to volunteer here. She left town months ago after an argument. She came back 2 nights ago and demanded to see me." My chest contracted. Evelyn Shaw, a name like a small stone dropped in a still pond. "Did she say why?" I whispered. Klein met my eyes. "She said you needed protecting, that you were in danger. She told us to watch the logs. Then she left a burner number." Rebecca sat back, exhausted. "Evelyn?" she said. "Who is she?" I stared at the ceiling and let a memory come, soft and awful. A woman in the hospice, hands gentle, who had sat beside my wife the night she breathed her last. A volunteer who sang quietly and then vanished. I remembered Evelyn's voice once, comforting me when the world went gray. I had never thanked her properly. I had never even known her full name. Klein stood. "We'll keep you safe," he promised. "Security will escort you home today. We'll file the reports. We'll make sure the legal office suspends any changes pending review." Rebecca nodded like a soldier counting steps. "Dad," she said, voice cracked. "Do you regret calling someone, doing what you did? What I had done, recording Ethan, felt at first like a betrayal. Then like the only rope left when the ship is sinking. I don't know if I regret it," I admitted. "I regret that it came to this. I regret I didn't see the end sooner." She took my hand and squeezed. "You did what you had to." Weeks later, the case moved slowly but inexorably. Ethan pled to lesser charges in return for counseling and restitution. Claire accepted a plea for assisting in a fraud scheme. Evelyn's burner number proved to be hers. She had indeed called Klein. She never asked for anything but privacy. Before she left town again, she visited me. She sat by the window and took my hand. "You did right," she said simply. I wanted to ask how she found us, why she cared. She only shook her head. "People like you deserve to be kept, watched, saved sometimes," she said. "And sometimes the world gives you a second chance." I watched her leave. She folded into a small sedan and vanished down the lane. When I walked past the bed that night, my bed, in my quiet house, I found the recorder in the cuff of my sleeve. I pressed play. Ethan's voice filled the room. "Only 3 days," he said softly, and then, unmistakably, "Then everything's mine." I let it play once, then I stopped it. I had done something I never thought I would. I had betrayed my son to save myself. But standing in the dark, I felt a strange, clear thing. Not triumph, not victory. Relief, because for the first time in years, I could sleep, without wondering who was counting down my days. And when I closed my eyes, the last thing I heard, quiet and very human, was my daughter's breathing in the next room. I let it steady me. I let it be enough.